appreciate you being here. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. All right. So we're actually refer to this as the summer housing update because technically this is the summer market for real estate. It's once the kids get out of school. I'm going to start with some fun photos because that's what I like to do.
Yeah.
Bring a little levity before we dig in. Everyone in real estate watching mortgage rates. This is how it feels. It's awful. My emotional support dog after his first week in real estate with me.
Yes, that's what mine looks like. She's sound
Yeah.
asleep.
I know they already have 10 offers, but let's start at $10,000 below asking.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, that sounds like our clients.
Yeah. Staging gone bad. This is great.
Oh, I think that looks great.
Yeah, seriously. Start over, reboot. I'll just stay in the market until I get my price. Actually, my most recent report that comes out for Clark County that's coming up a week addresses this very specific thing that shows you the longer you're on the market, the less you net.
That's right. Well, because you still have all the see, this is the hard thing to explain to sellers. As long as it stays on the market, you still have all the obligations. You're paying that every month. You know, HOAs, taxes, insurance.
Well,
you have the loan payments.
We show statistically that they close and sell for less.
Yes, they do because of.
Yeah, when your seller refuses to lower the price after 65 days with no offers, no showings, no offers, help me help you. This is an MLS photo. Nice.
I know. I thought that was good, but it's brand new at least.
Yeah, give me a break. Start over. This is MLS listing from my neck of the woods where I grew up, Mission Viejo. This was
wow.
You see it says Sierra MLS in the bottom corner. This was a fire sale for sure. And they showed.
Assuming it was Orange County.
Orange County sold all cash
in
days, multiple offers. They had so many offers, they had to cut it off by the time they came out on a Monday and had to cut it off on Thursday.
Yeah, they had so many offers. Wow.
Yep, not enough land. This is what we refer to as sunken tub, also a disaster. Or this MLS photo.
That'd be easy to get into. Come on. Easy to get into.
Easy to get into. Yeah, especially on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Here we go. This is we take way too many photos. So
yeah, you do. That's cute. Oh, I like that room. You can turn around in it.
Wow. Nice. Who wants to sit up there? Not me. And how long you been in the industry, Nancy? This is
my gosh, over 40 years.
So there you go. You had these multiple listing service. This is I actually show people multiple listing service and they think it's a joke. This was what we had. This was the MLS.
Our book was like this. It was, it was eventually one of these long, big ones.
Oh, really? Yeah. So this was Sandy Corp. I was Orange County Association Realtors.
That's why you were more sophisticated than we were.
And that middle thing is actually called a map. A lot of people don't know that.
Thomas Guide.
Yeah, Thomas Guide. No relation to me.
That's a map. Oh, wow. But then too, remember back then, it's a one-page contract. That's all we had.
Yeah.
All the disclosures. We didn't have all this garbage we deal with now.
So my introduction is I'm a quantitative economics and decision sciences major from UC San Diego in the beautiful city of La Jolla. Been in the business for a third of a century. Orange County native, Cap Valley High School grad. I have 9 kids. So I brought mine, she brought hers, she adopted mine, I adopted hers. And then we had this guy, his name is Zeke. He is 6 years old. And then we had this guy in the upper right middle. He came to work for us a year ago from Washington State University. And then that gal right there next to my wife, that is our oldest. She is married and brought us that. So the family lives on. 7 months old.
Wow.
That's right. So I'm a grandpa. We're actually called a pop because I am a dad to a 6-year-old. So it just sounds weird being called grandpa and dad at the same moment.
I like her hairstyle.
Yeah, pretty cool. So we've been all over the press from the Financial Times of London to New York Times, everywhere in between. And our company is Reports on Housing. It's your local real estate snapshot. We've been doing this for 20 years now, and we're about delivering the power and strength of data. because there's nothing that helps out better than data, and we articulate what the narrative should be based upon data. And that's pretty much what I do. I can always show why we're not going to have a crash, and we're trying to cut through the noise. That's if we don't provide them the data and analysis, they're going to go to the net and get it themselves. And so we don't focus on closed sales data, just we have it, but it's not really a great way to navigate going forward. So in order to set expectations, we talk a lot about supply. That's available number of homes to show buyers today. That's not a pending sale, that's supply. And demand is a snapshot of the last 30 days of pending sales activity. And from supply and demand, we get something called expected market time. It is the true speed of the market because there's fluctuations in demand and supply, and you can actually get fluctuations in the speed of the market. So it really is how fast you're cruising. It's not days on the market. I hate this statistic, always did, which is why I came up with the expected market time in the 90s. And our reports are used for buyer-seller consultations to get price reductions, get buyers off the fence, just close more transactions by properly setting expectations. We have reports that all over SoCal and Bay Area, Ventura were launched last year. This year, what we just launched in May at the very beginning was Clark County, Vegas, and Maricopa, Phoenix. So that's where our reach is right now. And some of the reports so far, we started off this year is actually hotter at the start of this year compared to last year. And it's just in sheer terms of the market speed. And then there are green shoots where there's some really positive things happening in the marketplace. I'm going to talk about that. The rate migration. So we migrated from 6.5%. We kept on going up higher, got up to 7% in February, and then it got up to 7.5% in April. And the time is now. We are convinced that now is the time to purchase. We said this a year ago. It's true a year ago. It's true today. Should have listened to us a year ago. Got to listen to us today. Down the road, when rates fall, value is going to go up at probably an unhealthy clip. It'll be an unhealthy market, but that's why I get in sooner rather than later. And in the climbing inventory, we've had inventory that's been slowly climbing. Clark County was late to the party compared to everywhere else across the United States. Clark County has actually had the worst time with inventory shortages compared to everybody else, but you finally have more homes on the market right now than you did last year. Most markets eclipsed that a long time ago. So temperature of the market, I could tell the temp of the market based upon where supply and demand are at any given moment in time, which is why we're able to put reports together for almost every market by looking at the MLS data. Starter home squeeze. And we showed that actually that the lower ranges are having an issue with not enough homes coming on the market still, and also fewer sales compared to the upper ranges. And then more choices. There have been a lot more choices that have come on the market this year compared to last year, and that is that green shoot, and we'll dive into that. The most recent report that came out is actually called Busting Myths. This is the most recent one for Clark County. And so if you were to sign up, you would actually get this one called Busting Myths. And the one that just came out last night and comes out for San Diego today, this is along the coast here in California, is called Pricing Matters. This will come out next week for Clark. And it just talks about the longer you're on the market, the less you're going to net. And also, when you do price reductions, you net less also. So we show that with data. And that's a popular report. I already had an agent. She actually texted me this morning saying, oh my gosh, I need this report. This report will articulate what's going on. So reportsonhousing.com, that's where you go to subscribe. It's $15 per month or $150 per year. You get a month free if you sign up utilizing the coupon code ROC for ROCK. And I'm a data junkie. Just love what I do. I've already listened to one podcast. We'll be listening to another one, doing a third presentation later on today. For a big Southern California company. And economic model, that is what we follow. It's progression model because there's new data changes every single week, which move our markets. We're very, very data dependent, which this makes our economic model even more important because we're very interest rate sensitive and we got to watch, can't wait for these rates to come down. So I look at myself as more like a professor, a teacher, rather than a cheerleader. I really want to explain what's going on. I'm not here to pump people up. I'm here to properly set expectations so we can articulate it to our buyers and sellers. Especially right now, we need to level up our buyer side of the game with buyers, with a buyer value proposition. So that's what we're working on. We do have a section for high rises. I'm not going to go into high rises here, but our reports cover it. I didn't start it till last year when all of a sudden I realized there's a segment that I was missing. So we have included that as well. But I'm not going to get into the weeds and talk about that as well because it's a little bit different. And but we do have it. It's all included in the Clark County report. We do have a mortgage rate update, and where we're at right now, economists are confused. They don't know specifically where we're at. They have brought up a lot of economists. It's like post-World War II or 60s, 70s, 80s. So there's so many decades they're comparing to, and it means that they actually don't really know where we're at. And that's because we have never been here before with the technology advancements and how small our world has become. We really have not been here before. There's a record amount of cash sitting on the sidelines. This is Daddy Warbucks, kind of looks like my son Zeke. There's more cash sitting on the sidelines than ever before. They're waiting to pounce on one of two things. One, either the stock market caves and they'll pounce on lows, or number two, the economy to slow. And when the economy slows, they'll be looking at either 10-year treasuries or mortgage-backed securities, kind of like at the same time. So once the economy slows, they'll dump into both of these and they'll both do the same kind of thing. And because there's a love affair that has occurred between 10-year treasuries and mortgage rates that dates back to 1972. That blue line is 10-year treasuries. The red line are mortgage rates. And you could see that going back to 1972, the average spread is actually 1.71. And this is just a snapshot of where it was in 2019, where it was that exact 1.71. And then where it is right now, you could see that the spread is actually higher than it's supposed to be. And where it's at right now is actually 0.91 above. So we should have interest rates that are almost 1 percentage point less. It was more than 1 percentage point less in December, but the spread got a little bit better, but it's still, we should have interest rates in the low sixes, not in the low sevens. And so this will change once we get inflation better tampered down, as well as once the Fed starts cutting rates and we have a more sure path of the economy. And that's where it will shrink down. So until then, the economy has been outperforming what expectations are. We were supposed to go in recession, didn't go into one. When that happens, we have interest rates that hover between 6.5% and 8%. And 7% being a sweet spot. The Fed doesn't like it when the interest rates get too low until they've got what they want in all the data. And they don't like 8% too high. Actually, where it's at right now is pretty much like Goldilocks. It's just right. And this is the 10-year treasury. And I'm going to talk really quickly about the 10-year treasury because there's that love affair between it, the interest rates, and this looks just like rates. As a matter of fact, that big Himalaya on the left, that is where we got to over 5% on the 10-year treasury. Same time, we got to 8% in interest rates. And this was actually snapped this morning. So I actually know that interest rates there's pressure for them to come down based upon 10-year treasury. And you can see, I'm pointing to where we're at right now with that orange arrow. And on Friday, we were making our way down towards 4.25. And then the Friday jobs report came out and it came out higher than expectations. And all of a sudden we got this big jump in rates on Friday. And that's what we have kind of today. So this was as of this morning. I know that they're probably a little bit less right now, but they're at 7.17% as of this morning. Almost, if the jobs report were less than expectations, we could have made our way into the sixes on Friday, but that did not happen. Instead, we popped up, just like we did with the 10-year treasury. So there are two psychological barriers, one being 7% and the other one being below 6, that's 5%. And 7% is the psychological barrier that it just prevents a lot of home buyers from purchasing because a lot fewer can qualify the higher rates get, A, and B, buyers just don't want to buy with interest rates in the sevens. They still are, but we would get a lot more. That's why demand, even though there are more homes on the market in most markets, that there are more homes, we still have the same amount of demand. We're just accumulating inventory because we need rates to come down below 7%. Like I said, once we get into fives, that's golden. That is actually where everything is golden. And You can actually see here, this is how, this is the 6%, 7% threshold. Higher than this is above 7. And you can see on the right-hand side, we've actually been since April 1st, and we touched on this line for a minute at the start of May. We were at 6.99%, but it's been stuck above 7% since April. And I thought we were going to get there on Friday, but things didn't work out with jobs. And in the next Himalaya that got all the way up to 8% over, you can actually see we were stuck above 7% from the end of July all the way to the second week of December. And this is 6%. Below that is our 5s. And you could see that the last time we were in the 5s with duration was August of 2022. And so it's been quite some time since we've been there. The longer we go, I used to say that once interest rates get to 5.5%, that it's going to move markets. Now I just say they need to get in the 5s, like 5.9999. It sounds good because it has a 5 on the front of it, and it's going to make buyers and sellers do things that it'll really move our market. We'll see a lot more transactions take place as well once that it occurs down the road. This is the Federal Reserve. On the right-hand side is Jerome Powell. They are actually meeting this week just like this in this exact room. And what they do is they get around the table and they talk everything about the economy. It is very boring. It is very geeky. And this is what they do. And they are all about inflicting pain. This is what they said in August of 2022 on consumer and businesses until they bring down inflation. And so that's what their goal is, to bring down inflation. And they've said it over and over again that they're very data dependent. They almost said it to a point where they've talked too much and now they've talked themselves into a corner. They probably should already have started to cut rates, but the longer they wait, the more damage they're going to cause down the road. They just don't understand exactly where it's going to show, but we see it in some of the headwinds. For the month of April, as far as data is concerned, it was a stinky month for data. They were reporting on March. Everything was exceeding expectations. It looked like 2023 all over again. It looked like we were too hot, the economy, and rates ballooned all the way to 7.5%, and it hit three times in April at 7.5%. Then along came May, and everything looked a lot better. So May was reporting on data points for the month of April. In May, we got a lot of good data points. We saw interest rates go from 7.5%, making their way all the way down to 6.99%. Everything looked really good for the start of June. June came along, and the start of last week, everything looked really rosy, and then we got a bummer report on Friday with jobs. And so the jury's still out for where we're going to go for the month of jobs as far as interest rates are concerned. But so far, not so. It was kind of like a mixed bag last week. So what's happened is jobs is very important. It is more important than inflation because inflation's actually coming down, and the Fed has articulated that they're really honing in on jobs. And you could see at the beginning of the week, we got this on the left-hand side, and that was job openings. The number of job openings was supposed to be, it was at 8.5 million the prior month. It was supposed to be at about 8.3 million. Instead, made their way all the way down to 8.059 million. So it was less than expectations, really positive report, and rates dropped for the day, and the 10-year treasury dropped for the day. Where we were prior to COVID was actually right above, just slightly above 7 million. So we're finally going to make our way in the 7s, and the Fed likes this. It means the labor market isn't as hot and robust as it was before, but then along came Friday, and the jobs report came out, and we were supposed to add 180,000 jobs. Instead, added 272,000 jobs for the month of May. Way too hot. So that was actually not good news. And you're wondering, why are we rooting against the jobs? It's because we have not enough job seekers and way too many job openings. So it's creating too much pressure on pricing. It's not good for inflation when there are too many jobs and not enough workers looking for jobs. Unemployment,
Steve,
though.
Yeah. Before you go any further, answer me this question. We're now seeing a lot of companies laying off, Tesla, these big companies, Macy's, and closing stores. How does that affect the unemployment? I mean, because it seems like the unemployment rate still stays stable.
It's actually not stable. It
went
up
a little more. I mean, it's not like increasing so rapidly that you think there's a real issue.
Yeah, because there's not. These are small headlines. We had a lot of headlines a couple of years ago about all the tech jobs that we were losing, and that was because they had stocked up on employees and had too many. and they are actually weeding through that because they had too much on their payroll. And same thing with Tesla. Tesla's just there's various reasons why Tesla's doing what Tesla's doing. Macy's has been having problems for a very long time. This is not earth-shattering news. There are other areas of the economy, retail, where it's actually really positive. So these people will just move to another area of the economy, which is kind of what's happened, is the absorption of all this news is just decimal points of the overall labor scheme. Makes headlines, great headlines, but it doesn't mean that we have enough jobs. We do see unemployment going up, went up from 3.8. It was even lower. It was at 3.4, at its lowest. And it was a low that we had not seen for 50 years. Even at 4, it's still a relatively low unemployment. There's room for it to grow. We want this to grow a little bit, and we want number of job openings to come down so that there's a better churn, and we don't want to be creating as many jobs as we did for the month of May, and we won't. We always get a couple reports that are too high and a couple reports that are too low. We're just looking at overall trends. And another thing that we look at is initial unemployment claims, and those have been tracking where it's still really low. That will tell you a lot. Initial unemployment claims are unemployment claims for the United States, and they're delivered every Thursday. So it's something I actually watch every single Thursday. So
it would be better to watch that versus listening to some of, this doom and gloom as they come up with.
100%. That is, if that's one piece of advice, it'd be watching initial unemployment claims and then watching where unemployment goes over time. But initial unemployment claims is going to tell you a lot. It's stuck at like 220. It was stuck even lower. You need to be all the way at 300,000 plus for it to be eye-opening. So we're not even close to that. And we look at the 4-week moving average, which is not that high. So we've got to continue to watch it. That will tell us more than anything else. Okay. So jobs is extremely important. Number one, it's the number one important thing that we watch. And that was last week. The first week of every month is jobs week. I actually watch it every time because it makes a difference for interest rates. You wonder why your interest rates went up on Friday? Because of jobs. That's why. Why did they go down Tuesday? Because of job openings. So jobs week, huge. The next one is inflation. Inflation's important. Guess what we get this week? CPI comes out on Wednesday. So that's consumer price index. There's 2 indices that we really follow closely. One's consumer price index called CPI. The other one's personal consumption. It's the next one. It's personal consumption expenditures, PCE. So these are the 2 that we follow. And one comes this week. Another one comes at the end of the month. Of these 2, this is the junkie index, but this is the one that everybody knows and follows, called CPI. It's just a basket of goods. Everything that we do, all put into a basket, seeing where inflation's going from everything from health to automobiles to food to retail, everything all in one basket. Resell, all of that. So we look at it, and you can actually see core is all we care about. I'm pointing to core. You can see the purple dots in the last 12 months. You'll see that in those purple dots that it went up in the month of April, and people were for the month of March, and people were wigging out. And I said, just a dot. And then in April, which was reported last month, was actually down, just like it should be. And this is broken anyways. Their shelter index is junk. And as a result, I don't really pay much credence to it. Core, they want to be at 2%. It's not even close to it, but that's because this one isn't the one the Fed likes because it's kind of broken. They like this one called PCE. This comes out at the end of the month. Probably don't even hear about it, but this can move the markets even more than CPI if you know what you're doing. And this shows you where core is at 2.8, getting a lot closer to 2%. It's coming down slowly, but for the month of April, which was reported at the end of last month, it actually came down nicely. I was pretty happy with it, and it's coming down slowly but surely. Will make its way down to 2%. It's just proving that last mile is going to be hard to get to. That arbitrary 2%, they made it up in 2012. This has not been around for decades, and it was made up by a European head of one of the central bank of another country, where they said, we want it to be we want inflation to be at a certain level. And they go, well, what level is that? And he just randomly picked 2%. And then other European countries followed it in the 1990s. We didn't adopt it till 2012. So it's just arbitrary. And they've kind of boxed themselves into a corner by saying we need to be at 2%. It's kind of dumb at this point. So we talked about jobs, important. Second is inflation. Third, retail sales. So we watched retail sales, and actually last month, for the month of April, it was flat, and it was unexpected flat, and the prior 2 months were revised down. So this was really good, and we saw interest rates actually drop almost 0.25% when this came out. And you're wondering, it's just retail sales. These are the things we have to follow, especially if we're working with buyers right now. And I'll show you how to do that. It's super simple because rate cuts are coming eventually, and it's going to happen sometime. Now, the Fed, they meet every 6 weeks, but once every quarter, they actually talk about rates, where they're going to go, and they release their projections for the rest of the year and the next several years. But who cares about that? We just care about this year. Well, they came out with one in December, then they come out with another one in March. The next one is when? This week, Wednesday, June. And then the next one after that, September, then it's December again. And every time they do that, it moves the markets more. So this week is a bigger week than a normal week for the Fed when they meet. So they'll be talking about rate cuts. A lot of goofuses, mainly guys, will be, because girls have their junk together. They're going to go, they're talking about, no, there's not three. And we know that there's not three, but they're not even talking two. They're talking like one, or in some cases, some knucklehead zero, or they're going to go up. That's not going to happen. There are a lot of economic headwinds that they cannot ignore, and they're talking about that this week. And that is personal savings rate. Where is the personal savings rate? Well, if you actually look at it, the personal savings rate is at a level that we have not seen since 2009. We're saving about half of what we did prior to COVID. So as a country, we're saving less. And our cumulative excess savings, this is excess savings from stimulus packages, ran out in the first quarter of 2024. So we don't have the excess savings from stimulus packages. We're saving less, and we're putting everything on plastic. This is credit card debt just ballooning. The first quarter, it went down. It typically goes down every first quarter because everybody goes crazy during the holidays, and then all of a sudden they go, uh-oh, I went too crazy, and they slow their roll. And then second quarter, they start increasing their roll again. And you can actually see this in the transition to serious delinquency. And I download the series from the Federal Reserve. And who cares about housing on the bottom right-hand side? It looks really solid, best in decades. So, but what we care about is this is credit card delinquencies. It's rolling in at a rate that we have not seen since since January of 2008. And so this does not mean we're going into a great recession. It means headwinds, and then also automobile debt, new delinquencies. And you see this, it is at a rate of like further along in the first quarter of 2008. These are headwinds that tap the consumers and will slow things down. This is obvious. And so the overall U.S. economy is kind of hitting its peak as far as everything being rosy, and something is going to break sometime this year. And it's like, then the U.S. economy will slow a bit, and the safe haven, Daddy Warbucks, cash sitting on the sidelines, is going to go to 10-year treasuries and mortgage-backed securities. When they flood them, rates drop. And that's what we want to see. This is what we're all praying for. We hope that this happens because this means more transactions for all of us, more homes coming on the market, more buyers playing. That's what it's about. And then we'll see interest rates dive all the way to 6%. And they'll go from 7 to 6 in an instant. Remember, they were in August, in October, and they made their way all the way down to 6.5% by the time we got to middle of December. That was a huge change. Easy for them to go from the 7.15 where they are today all the way down to 6%. So it's not a stretch at all. When is that going to happen? I don't know. I'm not a good fisherman, and I don't know when the fish are going to bite. So I have no idea when that's going to happen. I just know that at some point it's going to break. It's just, we don't know when. So we're very, very data dependent. So this is, I would download an app called, there's a couple apps, one of them being CNBC, so you could see what's happening to bonds, because when bonds are going down, 10-year treasuries, guess what? Interest rates are doing better for the day. And the other one I would do is not Keeping Current Matters is a good one. It's Mortgage News Daily. Mortgage News Daily will give you what's happening to the rates on a daily basis, and it'll explain what's going on in layman's terms so that you and I can understand. And then you click on it and you read it, and it's really good information so that now you can articulate to your buyers and make it a part of your package that you're going to keep them up to date as to how things are evolving in the economy, which is important for the rates. The other one is you Google the term economic calendar, fxstreet.com. It'll take you to this page. And this, what you'll do is it has every country. Then you have to go into the filter and you actually then clear it and then just hit the United States. That's all you care about. And then scroll a little bit down on those filters and make sure that only moderate to high volatility is what's clicked. And then I print it out. It looks just like this. And then what you could do is you could see that what I'm pointing to right now is this week. This is June 12th. What's going on? CPI first comes out, and it comes out, shows you, comes out nice and early, 12:30 Eastern time, so 9:30 our time. And then later on, the Fed meets, has their press conference, and they release their dots, all their interest rate projections. Very volatile day on Wednesday. That's going to move markets. And then you could see all these. So you could see retail sales is on the right. It's on Tuesday, June 18th. And then, so the red means highly volatile. The orange means somewhat volatile. And you can actually see on here, you get to Thursdays, and Thursdays has initial jobless claims. Not huge. It's orange, but it's something that you want to watch on a weekly basis. So I look at it on a weekly basis, and this will help you understand what's going on and on the jobs front. So those are the few things that I encourage you to download those couple apps and print out a economic chart. The housing market, all the houses put together, the housing stock, not just what's available, but all homeowners collectively, it's extremely strong. It's at the strongest point, the United States housing stock, than it's ever been before. And it's built on strong credit, great jobs, low fixed payments, which are hedge against inflation and rising rents. Understand that adjustable rate mortgages don't exist any longer like they did when I got into the business way back in the day. They just don't exist. There's just 5-year fix and 7-year fix. Those aren't adjustables. Yet adjusted on a monthly basis. They don't exist anymore. Record tappable equity. And that means they can tap their equity and still have 20% equity in their homes. Record equity rich. That means they have 50% plus equity. And then a record number of homeowners that own their homes free and clear. That is a recipe of a strong housing stock that will prevent the housing market from crashing. It can't crash when you have this kind of an element, way different than what we had on tap prior to the Great Recession. It was awful. Easy to see the difference. And we built up collectively a lot of homes. We're following the normal seasons. The normal seasons, even though you think that you might be snowbird seasons, it doesn't really exist that much any longer for Maricopa and Clark like it maybe had in the past. The reason for that is because it's so big, has way too many families that live there, lots of schools, lots of families, and a lot of people don't like to transact until they get to summer. That's a nice breaking point. So spring is the most activity in terms of pending sales. Second fiddle is the fall. Is summer. Then it's the fall. Then it's the winter. The slowest is actually the holidays. The slowest month, December. Fewest number of homes come on the market, and definitely the fewest number of pending sales, new pending sales. And so we're in summer right now because the kids are out of school and they're all bugging me and everybody else. So that slows down buyers' activity a little bit when you have like 100 kids like I do. You just can't do as much. They slow everything down. They interrupt things. It's just amazing. I had to put something on my door and lock it that says in a meeting. So that's where I'm at right now. And what happens during summer, that's when supply slowly rises and demand slowly falls. That's typical for a summer marketplace. And then we have the overall housing has two forces right now that are equal and opposite. One favors buyers and one favors sellers. And supply scarcity favors sellers. Affordability crisis and high rates favors buyers. And they kind of been pulling each other. So you can imagine when we get more supply that sellers can't pull as much. And when rates come down, buyers can't pull as much. So you can see how fluctuations in supply and interest rates can definitely change this equation. The low inventory is really hard, especially for those people in the entry level when they're looking for that beginning home. And so millennials and Gen Zs, a lot of them are a big portion of our first-time home buyers, and a lot of them are complaining about that entry level. And because there's a real scarcity of homes that are available. And this is the United States inventory courtesy of NAR, and it goes back to 1982. And I'm showing you where we were prior to the Great Recession and during the Great Recession. This first Himalaya is 2006. Each one of those Himalayas is a year. 2006, 2007, 2008, we had 4 million homes on the market across the United States. Way too many homes. And compare that to today, where as of the month of April, May has not been released yet, we're at 1,210,000 homes, like a quarter the number that we had during prior to the Great Recession and during. That's called supply scarcity, not enough homes. That's where it's really easy for values to rise because there's not a lot that's out there. And this is Clark County. It started in 2022. This is where we are in terms of inventory. You can see that big Himalaya was 2022 second half. We built a lot of homes on the market. Your market really slowed down for Clark County, and values kind of came down during that time period too. So this is the number of available homes, May 30th, 5,369. It was up 3% in a 2-week period of time. So, and I'll give you an update as to where we are today. So it went up 3% in that 2-week period. And last year we were at 4,681. That's the blue line. That's 13% less, 688 fewer homes compared to right now. And today it's actually at 5,399, only up 0.5%. So it's gone up a little bit. We'll see. I crunched the numbers and we'll release the report next week on this coming up Thursday evening. And so where do I think it's going to go? Slowly but surely. Typically we peak a little bit later between maybe towards mid-September to mid-November. And we're going to peak probably around September. When rates start coming down, it's really going to start eating into our inventory. We just don't know exactly when it's going to happen. We'll be watching. Now, homeowners are hunkering down in their houses. They're staying because they're low rates. It's what we also refer to as kicking back. Now, for the state of Nevada, I actually download the National Mortgage Database, the world's largest Excel database. I download this thing, play around, and I bring to you this. This is the state of Nevada through the fourth quarter of 2023. 78% of people in Nevada that have a mortgage, 78% have an interest rate at 5% or lower. Now, 58%, if you're just looking at 4% or lower, 58% have an interest rate at 4% or lower. Now, if you're looking at just 3%, 22% have an interest rate at 3% or lower. And I ask this in meetings, and a lot of hands go up who has an interest rate 3% or lower, and a lot of people do fist pumps. But then I ask them, of those people, is anybody thinking about selling within the next 3 years? And 6 months ago and 1 year ago, I got no hands. Now I'm starting to get hands. And why? Because it's been so long that interest rates have been low that people are tired of waiting. There's homeowners sitting with interest rates at 3% or even lower that are going, I really don't care. I want to move. I've made a family. I've got married. I'm having babies. I want a neighborhood full of more kids, or I want to live over here. So they're getting tired the longer they have to wait. And that's the green shoot that we're seeing. Because that blue line is last year. That's the number of homes that are coming on the market each month. We were at the lowest level of all time. Other than April of 2020, it was almost the same number. That was when we were locked down. That's how many homes we placed on last year for that month of April, almost like the initial COVID lockdown. And that's because people are enjoying these low rates. And we pretty much in that green line was 2020. So all the other, we kind of have the same number of homes that come on the market on a given period of time. And for some reason, you guys spike a little bit in August and September. That's that snowbird thing. I'm still telling you, your demand peaks during the springtime. So if you really want to take advantage of it, it really does need to come earlier in the year, not later, because there's a lot more competition later. And this is, the purple line is this year compared to the blue line last year. It looks better, doesn't it? So there are more homes coming on the market compared to last year. And there's actually 15% more homes that have come on the market so far for the first 5 months of the year. And that's an extra 2,500 for sale signs compared to last year. Extra signs means that we have the opportunity to place more in escrow. We're starting to accumulate because I told you demand's kind of flat. It's not changing much. So as we add more homes, there's more in the upper ranges. They're kind of like accumulating. And the only way this comes down is once rates fall. So this is looking at each month compared to the 3-month average prior to COVID of placing homes on the market, 2017, 18, and 19. And you can see on the left-hand side, that's initial COVID lockdown. So for the year 2020, it's actually down 6% or down 3,075 for sale signs. And in 2022, it's up 1% or up 602 homes. You were actually placing a lot of homes on the market the first half of the year in 2022. And then that changed once we got to 2023, missing 28%, missing almost 15,000 for sale signs last year. That's a lot fewer homes coming on the market. And that is something that I started tracking this during COVID because I knew people wouldn't place their homes on the market during the lockdown. And then I kept on tracking it since. And it shows how people are staying in their homes with their low rates. In 2024, so far through January through May, it's missing 19% or a little over 4,400 homes on the market. So not as many are staying off the market. You can actually see this is the first 5 months of this year compared to the first 5 months of last year. There are fewer homes on the market still, but we're moving in the right direction. And this will only change once we get our down below 7%. We'll actually see more homes come on the market. And the more rates drop, the more homeowners will be inclined to place their homes on the market. So we have low inventory versus low demand. Low demand, you can actually see this. This is the number. This is people calculating how much they can afford. And they're going, oh my gosh, I can't afford a house. So that's been a problem. And you can actually see this across the United States. If you take the national median household income and you see how much it would be for the to afford a national median priced home, 35.9% of their income is devoted to making those payments. That is the highest level. It was higher when rates got to 8%, but it's the highest level right now since the 80s. So it beats the Great Recession. So things are very expensive. And in order to afford the median price home in Clark County, you have to make $123,000 if you're putting 20% down. You actually have to make even more if you're putting less down. So $123,000 if you're putting 20% down. So that's a lot of money, which just shows you why there's a lot of buyers that can't purchase because interest rates are so high. This will only improve as rates drop. And you can actually see this rates impact on affordability. When interest rates are 8% in October and you're looking for a $3,000 per month monthly payment with 20% down, this is just looking at principal and interest. On the right-hand side is 8%. That's $511,000. And you can see when interest rates make their way down to 7%, now you're looking at a $563,000 house. Versus when they make their way down to 6%, now you're looking at a $626,000 house. You can see things are improving. You get into the fives, you're looking at a $660,000 house. The number of buyers will really open up as rates drop because there's more and more people that can now afford a bigger home or afford a home altogether. So, and this is looking at demand, the last 30 days of pending sales activity. And this is where we are as of May 30th, 2,702. It's down 1% in a 2-week period of time, down 30 pending sales. That's it for 2 weeks. And last year we were at 2,687, which is 1% less or 15 fewer pending sales. So we're in spitting distance of exactly where we were last year. It's like I said, last year's demand is very similar to this year's demand. We just have more homes coming on the market, so they're starting to accumulate. And if I look at last year, we were at 2,731, which is 1%. Well, if that should say today, I'm sorry. And I'll fix that before giving you guys a copy. That's today. We're at 2,731. So actually went up 1% compared to where we were on May 30th. We'll see what happens on Thursday. And then you look at Clark County demand. Where do I think it's going to go? Kind of like slowly down, and then it's going to increase as rates drop. And then towards the end of the year, it starts to drop. This is what we think is going to happen with interest rates coming down with the economy cooling. So what's the true speed of the market? How fast is the market moving? The expected market time, place your home in the market when you open up escrow. You could see in the second half of 2022, things really slowed down and you felt it. That's when we got to 160-day expected market time in September. That's slow. And you could see this is where we are right now. So it really speeds up at the beginning of the year and we get to Super Bowl and we say, man, things are getting hot. And that's pretty typical. And then where we are right now is May 30th, we were at 60 days, which is up 3 days in a 2-week period of time. And last year we were at 52 days. So last year to this year, it is slower. And today we're at 59 days. So it went down a little bit. So because demand improved a slight bit and not much happened with inventory. So it's at 59 days. That's as of today. We'll see what happens on Thursday. Where I think things going to go? Kind of flat, and then it could slow down a little bit. But then once interest rates drop, we could see that the market time, expected market time, actually improves, and the market feels faster. We did feel this one other time, and that was in 2019 as interest rates started the year at the end of 2018 at 5% and made their way down. And then we saw a definite improvement in our marketplace. So in many markets, it feels like a seller's market. In other markets and other price ranges, it feels more balanced, a little bit more pushback. And you can actually see this in the expected market time 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. You can see the number of available homes, demand, the last 30 days of pending sales, and what the market time is. And then that's where the 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago comparisons are. And then you can see high rises are also there. Henderson has a few on the market, not a lot. Las Vegas has a lot. And this is Henderson was the last place I actually did something last week. And Boulder City was at 53 days 4 weeks ago and is now at 112 days. And Henderson was at 57 days 4 weeks ago, now is at 64 days. Las Vegas, 54 days 4 weeks ago, now is at 58 days. Just a slight slowdown. You can't really feel it that much. Laughlin was 117 and is now at 103. These are every city in Clark. Mesquite was at 63, is now at 76. North Las Vegas was at 39 and is now at 49. It's the hottest market, but it was really, really hot. 49, it's starting to cool a little bit. And so that's what we're looking at is what's the temperature of the market every other week. And that's what our report delivers. So what's the luxury update? So luxury is 750,000 plus, and it's the top 10% of the market. And you can see that the expected market time, the hottest range for Clark County is actually 400,000 to 500,000. And that's 20% of the current inventory and 27% of demand. Now, the 39% of demand is 0 to 400,000. But you can see as prices get up there, 5 to 600, it's at 60. Now 750 millions at 87 days. 1 to 1.5 is now at 109. It's taken longer the higher the price point. And you can see this is the first 4 months of the year. We don't release the next one until this next report should have it next week. And it's for luxury, it's up 40% or up a 313 closed sales at 750,000 plus. So the market is better this year compared to last year. Blue was last year, purple is this year. So we're selling a lot of homes in luxury. And matter of fact, it's outpacing 2021 luxury sales, and that's because of how tight your market's been. So actually doing quite well so far for the first 4 months of the year. The market overview. How about all of the market, not just luxury? It's up 7% or up 641 homes. This is probably Clark County is doing the best out of all counties that we track. And I actually also track Sacramento. So I have this big swatch of the Western area, and Clark County is #1 in terms of numbers of closed sales compared to last year. That's blue line is last year, orange line, purple line is this year. And there is a shortage solution. We can get more homes coming on the market, and that's when interest rates fall. And like I said, once they get in the 5s, it will really be a difference. But even the low 6s will make a big difference. Demand will increase first, then the number of homes coming on the market will increase second. The demand spike will outpace the number of homes coming on the market. What that sounds like is that a lot of the inventory will be gobbled up and we'll be back to that right after COVID, that ridiculous market where it's kind of unhealthy and things are selling like hotcakes. That's what's going to happen because we have this first-time homebuyer demographic that has been underserved, and that is a bunch of millennials and Gen Zs. So right now is the time to purchase, and that's what we're trying to say. And it just makes intuitive sense what I'm talking about. And so we've been here before for this demographic patch. That's huge. It's actually baby boomers. This is taken from, there's my son who's 22, just about to turn 23. He gave me these articles. This is from the Sacramento Bee. This is March of 1981. And if I blow this up, in search of affordable home, sounds like today, what you'll find is enormous pent-up demand waiting to be served, but finding no surface at all. They're a huge group, the boom babies of the 1950s, and they desperately want houses. Well, it is if they can get the financing, which in turn is the greatest challenge to home mortgage industry today. So that sounds like today. And so we're not alone. And what's the cure to this? Eventually, rates will come down. We'll get that spread to come down. The economy will be in a better place. The Fed will cut rates, and we'll be in the upper fours down the road. And that'll be a lot better. And then the millennials will be in a better spot. Although we still have this inventory issue that is probably way worse than where we were prior to in 1981. So this is Clark County. This is through April. This is Freddie Mac House Price Index. I dislike median home prices a lot. Don't like to use the word hate, but I do not like median home prices. I like home price indices. I don't like Case-Shiller because they're too far lagged. And I don't like Zillow because it's Zillow. They actually have smart economists work for them. I like Freddie Mac's house price index. And Freddie Mac's comes out every month at the end of the month. They released April just a couple weeks ago, and it's up for Clark County, up 9% year over year. That's huge. Only San Diego County is doing a little bit better. They're up 10%. Clark County is pretty huge. And it's up 1.8% month over month. And that is because of your lack of homes on the market that you're going up at such a great clip. You're actually up 2% from the 2022 peak, which means that in the month of April, you hit an all-time peak. So all those people that thought values are going to come tumbling down when rates went from 3.25% to over 7%, it created a lot of friction where buyers backed off, but now we're used to these higher rates, and now we're functioning, and values have actually increased. So we'll have to see where we go for the second half of the year. It just depends upon what happens with rates. How about this? I finally found, and I downloaded it meticulously. This is the number of Clark County closed distress sales, foreclosures and short sales. This was for the month of April, 35 total foreclosures and short sales. If you want to look at where we were prior to COVID in 2019, we're at 110. You weren't looking for foreclosures and short sales back then, and you're not looking for them now. And you could actually see how high we got. In January of 2009, it was actually, I think it was 90% of all closed sales were either foreclosures or short sales. Now it's just a tiny little fraction. So you don't even feel it, you don't even see it, and they don't really exist that much. And so you shouldn't be looking for foreclosures or short sales. And even those people that are seriously delinquent, which I hear delinquencies are up, and I always hear that from a lot of people, well, they have equity in their homes because it's actually 60%, 3 in 5 are that are seriously past due on their mortgage have at least 20% equity, which means that they're going to get a big fat proceeds check. So we need to be knocking on these people's doors for those people that have equity that are behind on their mortgage and be their hero. And then in the process, we'll make a commission. So that's somebody that we definitely want to pivot to. So you should be getting with your Rock Title representative to get that information. And something that comes up over and over again is, hey, Stephen, is voting make a difference for our housing market? The answer is absolutely not. Now, the active voting and who we put into office, yes, that can make a difference. But the actual voting, where we go into a booth and we click on things, that will not change our housing market. It's not in the data. So whatever people say, it's not supported by data. And there will be smart economists that say that it will happen. And I'm here to tell you it won't. They will not back it up with data. I do have on YouTube, Reports on Housing is our channel, and you can go there, and I have a debrief that we do every week. And the most recent one was talking about how there's an article that I saw that chapped my hide, and that was that they said that their buyers are finally revolting and they're not buying houses because of the high rates, because that's why we're accumulating extra homes on the market. That's not right. We're accumulating extra homes on the market because homeowners are tired of waiting and they're starting to come on the market, and they're accumulating because we have the same number of demand as we did last year, not less, the same. So we're starting to accumulate them. And so we talked about that. We also have a podcast that we have. It comes out every other Wednesday. The next one is episode, I think we're at I can't remember what we're at. It says 24. So we're at episode 20, 24, 25, somewhere around there. We're just about to hit our 1 month mark, 1 year mark. I didn't have a podcast. My son said, "Where's your podcast?" We now have one called Let's Talk Housing, Reports on Housing, wherever you like to listen to it, or even on YouTube, you can listen to it. And this comes out every other week. And we have a text message when you sign up for our reports on Fridays. If you when you sign up, you'll get that initial email that shows you that gives you the first report at the very top. If you click on it, you'll actually sign up for getting a text message on Fridays, and we'll send you on a weekly basis. The day after we crunch the numbers, we'll tell you where inventory is going, what's happened with demand, and what's happened with expected market time, and compare it week over week. So you'll see it every week. Even though our reports come out every other week, every Friday you'll get a new taste of what's going on with the marketplace, and a neat little social media piece that you can post. So reportsonhousing.com, that's where you go to subscribe. We email them out with a bunch of links for you to repurpose, and we have a video for you to watch to see how to repurpose. It comes out every 2 weeks, $15 per month or $150 per year. You get a month free if you sign up utilizing the coupon code ROC. So go to Reports on Housing. And any other questions that you have, the two of you? Thank you for hanging in there.
Great stuff. No, I don't have any questions, but I'm a data junkie as well. So it was good insight. In fact, I subscribed.
Well, awesome. Good for you. You'll be one of my, I think we've done a couple of presentations so far, 3, and we have about 40 subscribers. So you're like the 41st subscriber. In Orange County, there's just about 2,000, and it's like 1 of every 3 agents has it. So it's not really a differentiator. For you, it'll be a differentiator.
Nice. Love it.
Great.
Thank you much. I appreciate you too.
Much.
Thank you for being in there, hanging in there.
Yeah.
And thank you, Jocelyn. 2 in a row. Wow. Good for you. Appreciate it.
You as well for hosting this two times in a row. You only have like a 15-minute gap in between both classes.
Yeah, we were able to do it. Now I'm going to go eat lunch.
There you go.
Have a good one. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.